only a property of the material world and does not exist in the immaterial or the intelligible world or in the noumenal world. So you're not really explaining or giving a good account of how exactly the space-time dimension can be brought into existence, right? You're not giving a good argument for
Pretty
that.
sure I just okay. I'm pretty sure I just said right. If God is, for example, right, inconceivable in this case, right? These paradoxes that you're presenting are merely just limitation of our own mind that we obviously cannot
So you're
conceive.
saying
For
that this,
example,
okay, so
of
wait a
a.
second.
No, no,
So
I'm
when
not
you're
done. I'm
saying
not
that
done. I'm
God is
not done. I'm not done. I'm
inconceivable,
not done. But I'm not done.
isn't
I'm
that
not
you
done. I'm not done,
conceive
Apollo.
in,
I'm not
isn't that
done.
you
Apollo,
conceive in his
Apollo,
essence?
Apollo,
But you're
Apollo.
conceived
I am
essence is
not done.
inconceivable.
Apollo, I am
But
not
you're
done. I am
conceiving,
saying
the speed is
no,
ineffable.
Apollo, Apollo, I am not done. You didn't let me finish.
Well, this is
Can I
just
finish now?
gibberish anyway.
Okay, can I finish now? You can think it's gibberish, that's fine. Can I finish now?
Okay, you can continue with your
Can I
fucking
finish?
nonsense, bro. I'm waiting.
Sure, I'm saying, right? We cannot conceive, for example, in this case, right, of something, right, happening, a change taking place within something that's atemporal and aspatial. That's fine. We cannot conceive of that. It doesn't mean that God cannot cause that. That's what
It's
I'm
not even
saying.
only a conceivable issue. It's not a matter of conceivability, which is the issue. It's a metaphysical issue. So I'm not even saying that it's because I can't conceive of it, that's why it is impossible. I'm saying that it creates some logical contradiction, which is that if change entails temporality and change occurred before temporality existed, that means you're basically saying that before temporality existed, which is a contradiction. So that's not even a matter of I can't conceive of this. It's a
To
matter.
say
Wait,
something
hold on
is
there a
a
second. It's not even
paradox
a
is
matter
to
of I
say
can conceive
something
of
that
this.
no no
It's a
no no
matter of there's a
Apollo, to say
logical
something is a
paradox which you need
paradox
to
is to
solve
say
the question.
something that you cannot conceive of that being the case. Because it's logical,
Okay,
it's a
you're not
logical
getting it. You're
paradox,
not
right?
getting it.
You
So
cannot
listen,
conceive of
listen,
that to be
Thompson,
the
Thompson,
case.
listen. It's not even a matter of conceivability, right? Okay, so you're not getting
Okay,
it. So I'm
I'm
not.
giving
Listen,
an
listen,
analogy of
listen. Wait,
that.
hold on there a second.
No,
Hold on there
I'm
a second.
giving you
Hold on
an
there a second.
analogy of
I'm
it
not
being a
relying.
matter
I don't
of
need an analogy.
conceivability.
Your analogy and your argument is gonna suck anyway. So I'm not relying. So the theory of modality I'm
Yes,
going under
no.
is not that of conceivability. I'm not saying. I'm not saying. I'm
I'm
not.
presenting you
Dude, shut up.
of
Dude, shut up.
justification for it being a problem.
Apollo, let me speak after this.
Logical contradiction. I'm not saying it's a matter of I can't conceive of this thing even existing, right? For example, as Kant would say, we can't conceive of a non-spatial temporal world, but that doesn't mean that it is logically impossible, right? I'm not going under a theory of modality which rests upon our ability to conceive of something. I'm just simply saying that an entailment of you saying that God created space-time dimension is this logical contradiction or metaphysical contradiction that you need to cash out.
I never said something being inconceivable is by virtue of it being a paradox. I'm saying in this case, right, if something is
I
a
never said you
paradox,
said that either. You're not getting the point.
but you did indirectly say that, but that's fine, right? I'm saying in this
That's
case,
I
right,
didn't
we cannot
indirectly say that
conceive. No, no,
either.
no, 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 no. I'm speaking, right? For in this case, for example, right, we cannot conceive of P and not P being true. That's fine, right? We cannot conceive of that. That's a logical contradiction. We cannot conceive of that. Like if something is a
Wait, so you
logical
agree it's a
contradiction,
logical
obviously you cannot.
contradiction, so it is impossible.
What? Yeah, I'm saying like if you think that it's impossible, that's
So it is
predicated from like
impossible.
the no, no, no. No, I'm saying right. If it's impossible, if you think that it's impossible, and it's a logical paradox. That's fine. If you think that's the case, right?
Wait,
God
but
is
it's
inconceivable.
not a matter of what I think. You just confirmed that it's a logical paradox and you couldn't even solve the paradox.
Okay. I say it's fine to be an illogical paradox. That's fine, right? But it's a matter of conceivability, and God is like inconceivable. That's what I'm saying. So can I get into the reduction already?
Again, it's not even a criticism towards conceivability.
Oh my God, Apollo! I literally just
Dude,
repeated
I'm not
like
making this.
arguments
Listen, I'm not
several.
making
No,
an
no, no. I really
objection
just
towards your
repeated
ability
arguments
to
several
conceive it.
times for
I'm
it
making
being
an
a problem
objection
of
towards whether it is
inconceivability.
logical. You're
What?
misunderstanding the point. So it's just, I'm not okay. So look at this. So take into
No, I understand.
consideration. Take wait. I'm
Apollo,
not
I
finished. I'm not
understand you're
finished.
not
Take into
saying.
consideration the world of space time, right, or the world of the noumena. As Kant says, the noumena is inexperienciable. We can't experience the noumena. But Kant does not grant that the noumena is impossible. He thinks the noumena exists, right? So that's an example of Kant or someone not grounding their theory of modality on conceivability.
You say repeat what you said. Repeat what you said, brother. Apollo, are you there?
So anyway, did you give a response? I just
Yeah.
went away for a second.
Now repeat what you said.
Oh, I was saying that in the example of transcendental idealism, Kant Kant grants and agrees that the noumena is inexperienciable. We can't experience the noumena. However, he does not say that because we can't experience or conceive of the noumena, that entails that the noumena is impossible or is an impossible existence. He grants the noumena's existence. So that's an example of one not relying upon their ability to conceive something to determine whether this thing exists or not, or whether this thing is impossible or possible. So likewise, in this case, I'm not saying that because I can't conceive of this thing is impossible. I'm not basing my model epistemology on my ability to conceive of this thing or this action. I am basing it off the essential properties that both me and you grant and accept with regards to temporality and change and so on and causality. I'm going based off these essential properties, and I'm saying that based on what we both grant, right, there's a contradiction in there being a being which created this universe.
Apollo, yeah, I agree that just because you think something is not conceivable, it doesn't entail that, for example, it's logically impossible, right? That's fine. But I'm just saying, in this case, right, if, for example, there's P and not P, right? Obviously, they can't both be true, right? If they can't both be true, that's a logical paradox, right? If that's the case, right? Obviously we cannot conceive of that being true. That's what I'm saying. You lagged
Apollo,
out.
your
Wait,
mic
hold on.
sucks, nigga.
Bro, you
Restart
lagged
it.
out,
My
bro.
bad. Bugging?
You still
We
lagging
can hear you now.
slightly.
I'm saying, you're not really objecting what I'm saying, really. You're granting that conceivability does not entail logical impossibility, and that's not even the major disagreement here. The major disagreement is that I
Yeah,
would
it's
just
not a major
explain to you why
disagreement,
this.
but you
Wait,
just
wait.
brought that up, and I
I just
say I
explained
agree
to you
with
why
that.
this is logically impossible, and after explaining to you why this is logically impossible for there to be a demiurge which caused the universe in a per accident sense, right? After explaining the logical contradiction, you just said you don't need to respond to it, and you basically indirectly granted it being a logical impossibility. So why should I even accept these to even exist?
Okay, Apollo, if P, can you conceive of P and not P being true at the same time?
No, because P and not P is necessarily false.
So you cannot conceive of that.
That's irrelevant.
Okay, if you cannot conceive of that because P and not P cannot be true at the same time, right? That's what I'm saying. Because you cannot, like, if that's a logical like contradiction, right? Obviously, you cannot conceive of that. That's why I asked you the question, right? Can you conceive of P and not P being true at the same time? If it's a logical
Irrelevant
paradox, and it
because I'm
is a
not
logical
saying
paradox.
we obviously can't conceive of something which is false. It is necessarily false. That's the whole point.
Yes, it's a lot. Bro, I'm saying, right? P and not P cannot be true at the same time. So it's a logical paradox. You cannot conceive of it being true, right?
Yeah, but that's irrelevant because that's not the same as saying that this thing is impossible because it is inconceivable. The reason as to why we can't conceive of logical
I am
contradictions
granting it
because
in this
logical
case
contradictions
being
aren't
because it's
necessarily false.
inconceivable.
That is just the case.
In this case, I'm granting it because it's inconceivable. That's what I'm saying.
In this case,
In this case, I am granting it being a logical like contradiction, right? It's because it's
logical
inconceivable. That's what I'm
contradiction is
saying.
just
At
straight up
this,
impossible.
bro, I am saying in this case, right? If it's a logical contradiction, right? It's because it's predicated from it being inconceivable. In this case, it's God.
So you just agree that it's a logical contradiction. So it is basically
Sure, that's
impossible.
fine. I already
Okay, so if it is
agree.
a
Like
logical
fucking
contradiction, then it's impossible. So this being did not create the universe. Thank you. GG's.
uh, oh my god. Did you address
Do you
what I
want to
said?
get into why contradictions are necessarily false?
Did you address what I said?
You just granted that it's a contradiction for a being to create this
And I
universe.
justify why that's the case, and I predicated
No,
that,
you
and
know,
I
you
said
just
that's
said it
predicated
as
from
being
God. In this case,
inconceivable,
God
that
is
accounts
inconceivable.
for it being a logical contradiction. And I'm saying to you that no, that would not account for it. If anything, if it is a logical contradiction, then that means necessarily speaking, it did not occur.
Oh my god, this is so fucking AIDS. Apollo, Apollo, right? Did you feel like you addressed what I said?
Why are you asking me if I feel like it? You can just give a response, or if you want to conclude, just conclude. Stop asking me
Because
weird
this
ass
is
questions.
literally so fucking circular. Like, this is why we could have just gotten a judge, just concluded, just move on to another point.
That's fine. Do you want to basically hash out what contradictions are possible, or like, do you grant that contradictions are impossible?
Contradictions? Impossible in what sense?
In the sense of metaphysics, like, is it metaphysically possible for a contradiction to exist? In
Not really.
reality as a whole, is
But
it
like,
possible?
but, yeah, not really, right? But within the context of reality, yeah, that's fine. Not really within reality, that's fine.
Context of reality, then that means that this thing did not occur because it's impossible.
Reality as in within the universe, and for example, God is in this case is transcendent of the universe,
No,
so
not in
therefore
the
limitation
universe.
of
I'm
the
talking
universe don't
about
occur to
both
God.
realities, hypothetically speaking, both in the non-spatio-temporal and the spatio-temporal world. Is it possible for there to be an actual contradiction, and could you establish an argument for that position?
Is it like, oh, like in both, like in the sense of like both worlds as in atemporal and aspatial worlds, and for example,
Yes, in
reality
both
as in
worlds,
our
is it the
reality?
case that it is possible for a contradiction to be actualized? And if so, could you establish an argument for me, please, and thank you?
I cannot like definitively answer the part of atemporal worlds, right? Right, but I can definitively answer for like our reality. I can agree with our reality.
Definitively answer that within our reality, it is not possible, right?
Sure, our reality, yeah.
So you understand that's a commitment, a metaphysical commitment that you have to adhere to, considering the argument you're presenting is that it is possible in the atemporal world for there to be logical paradoxes and contradictions, right?
I did not talk about in reference to the atemporal and aspatial. What I said are reality.
I know he did not talk about it. I'm saying that a commitment or an entailment of your argument is that you have to commit yourself to that position. Considering that you're saying that this thing actually occurred, that means that it has to be possible to begin with for it to even be actual. That's just basic more the logic. So then I'm saying to you, what is the argument for contradictions being possible in the atemporal world? And if you don't have an argument for that, then that means the whole idea that this contradictory process or occurrence even occurred to begin with has no basis either, so we can't establish any argument for God from that point. So that's strike two.
Okay, sure. That's fine. I don't feel like I have to definitively answer that because I'm going to present an induction that's going to be somewhat inductively appealing, I suppose, right? And if it's inductively
Wait,
appealing, and
wait.
for
I,
example,
I don't
you in
care
this
about
case
whatever
cannot respond.
inductive you present.
No,
I
I am not done, brother. I am not
don't have
done.
any
I
reason to
am
accept
not
whatever
done,
argument you have.
Apollo. I am not done. Apollo, I am not done. I'm not done. Can I finish?
Oh, dude, I'm just saying that the deductive argument you're going to present afterwards is just going to be negated by if you accept that this contradiction is existent, which you already did.
I said, right? How would it be negated? It's not part of my inference. I'm gonna have to address every little subset, right, of
Isn't
the
that the
argument for
first
God's
starting point?
existence, because something can be questioned infinitely. And obviously, an inference requires finite amount of inferential steps, but for that we can conclude upon. That's what I'm saying, right? You can question the inference infinitely, and I don't feel like I have to address every little subset of
It's
the
not even a
inference
matter of
itself.
questioning your position infinitely. I'm just asking a bunch of questions which are relevant to your
Yo,
position.
I'm saying you
You
can.
said
I
you
didn't
said
say
the
you
material
are
world
in
was
this
being
case.
created, and I said to you that there's a paradox which is being entailed from that. How is the material world being created in the per accident sense if per accident causality requires space-time relation, which are properties of a material world existent? That's what I'm asking you, right? And you have not responded to that specific question, nor have you cashed
Because
out
I
how
already
that's
justify and I already
possible. And
explained,
you have
right?
not
I
even
do not
explained
have
how
to
contradictions are
respond
possible
to that,
either. So
right?
that's three strikes in a row.
What these strikes? What are you talking about, nigga?
You're not getting the point. So anyway, I've already explained to you why
I
your position
am
is a
getting the
logical
point, which is
contradiction.
why I
Why there's a
specifically
logical
have been
contradiction for
addressing
God to
that
create the
multiple
material
times
world.
and like
So that means it is
literally
impossible
justifying why
for
I
this
do
being to
not
create this
have to
world, and you've
respond
not
to
given
that
any argument for why
specifically.
contradictions are possible.
Okay, do you think they're impossible or impossible? Because I don't feel like I have to answer that. Apollo,
What did he say? I'm asking to reiterate.
I said, do you think like logical contradictions are possible, are like possible, right, within an atemporal and
I think they're
aspatial world?
impossible
They're impossible? Why?
because for reality to exist, reality has to exist. If reality does not exist, reality does not exist. Therefore, reality exists.
What?
For reality to be reality, reality has to be reality. If reality is not reality, reality is not reality. So reality has to be reality.
So reality can be caused, and therefore, even though it was not reality initially, it can be like reality as of now.
If that was the case, then it
Reality is
wouldn't
not
be
reality.
reality.
Reality is just
It's
not
reality, so
reality.
it's
Because
reality.
reality is not reality.
What?
If it wasn't the case that it wasn't reality, then it
Not
wouldn't be
reality.
reality.
Yeah.
Meaning reality wouldn't be a
This is
So, like,
reality.
ontology. You
But
can't
it is a
deny it.
reality, so it's reality.
so, like, am I debating Archie like Apollo? What's going on here? Can you
Just
explain
Archie's
me
just
Archie,
clarifying.
like, momentarily?
He's just
What?
clarifying.
Is it what? Is it
Clarifying.
what?
Clarifying.
Oh, like, I don't think I need clarifications. I pretty much heard what you
Seems
said.
like you did, buddy. You might want to focus on your debate.
Yeah, you were saying Apollo?
He's real, so it's reality.
You're lagging. You're lagging. Restate. You're lagging.
I'm saying reality is reality. So if reality is not reality, then reality is not reality. Reality just does not exist. So reality has to be reality. So contradictions just can't be true. It's just necessarily false just based on that. It's just
So, where are you going with this?
it establishes that necessarily speaking, this thing is impossible. The whole concept of reality in itself requires the law of identity for it to even exist. It's just a prescriptive rule.
Okay, the law of identity states that reality is reality. So, how does that like relate to what you just said again?
Because I'm establishing
Like,
what the law
A
of
is A, reality is reality.
I'm establishing why contradictions are impossible. So you understand that denying the law of identity entails contradictions being possible, right? Because denying the law of identity
I think we already went over them being possible in the sense of the material world, but we are actually talking
no,
about
what
them
we did
being
not. The only thing
impossible.
you did was just say that the reason as to
I'm
why this
pretty
logical
sure I
contradiction is
agreed
because
like to the
it is
material world.
special
I'm
plead, which
pretty
did
sure
not
I
really
agreed
explain
that they're
anything.
impossible within the material world. That's
No,
where I
the
said
only thing you did was
reality.
special plead. That's all he did. He did not give an actual sufficient account as to why this logical contradiction would even be caused by some being. You didn't even establish why logical contradictions are even possible. I mean, what theory of modality even endorses contradictions being possible? Is it because it's going to either be modality, which is reliant on practice logic, or trivialistic logic, and that's going to require an argument either. So
Apollo, I literally already agreed to the material world, and I say I do not have to respond, right, to whether, right, reality, right, like for example, right, within a atemporal world or a spatial world, right, I don't have to respond as to whether logical contradictions can exist or not, and I already explained that multiple times,
well, you
talking
have
about the
to,
inference
because
that
if
I
I
just
explain to
explained,
you why,
and I
I
already
ex-
explained that
explain
an
to you.
inference can be questioned infinitely, so I don't have to
Okay,
respond to all
okay,
possible subsets
uh-huh.
within those inferences.
Yeah. So I explained to you why there's an entailment that from the position that God created the material world, there's going to be a metaphysical contradiction based on the essential properties that we have cognitive awareness of with respect to the properties of an immaterial world and the material world. So after confirming such, right, if logical contradictions, or you're going to say that this thing did in fact occurred, then that means it has to be possible to begin with for it to even be an actual event. Now, if you establish it to be possible to begin with, you'd also have to establish why it is possible that this logical contradiction can even occur in this atemporal world for the actualization of this material world to even go through under your philosophical worldview. But you just agreed that you don't have an actual argument for that position. So reads to even grant your
Yeah,
position being
because
true
it's
on
basically just the subset of the inferences that I was gonna present. So I don't feel like I have to respond to every little subset because like fucking inferences can be questioned infinitely. That's what I've been saying. Apollo, are you there?
point. Um, I'm asking you how exactly you're not even getting the point. I'm asking you how exactly you're going to establish a contradiction to be possible, and if the contradiction is not possible, then how is it even an actual case or actual facts of the matter that this thing even occurred if it is not even possible to begin with for its possibility? I don't care about the inference you're going to present afterwards because I can
I
just
don't
reject
think
that
I don't
inference just
I
based
don't
on the
think it's
contradiction I've just
impossible. It's
established.
neither possible nor impossible in the sense of an atemporal and aspatial world. We never went through it being impossible in an atemporal and aspatial world. We never did.
Wait, that's irrelevant. So, okay, Oh my God, I'm not talking about
You're
what you're
saying
going to. I'm
you're
saying that the
saying
induction
it's
works
logically
differently.
impossible. We never went over that. I didn't answer that. Within an
So do
atemporal
you
and
deny
aspatial world.
possible for a logical contradiction to exist?
What? You said what?
Do we deny or we accept that a logical contradiction is impossible?
I said within the material world, it's very much impossible. But I don't have to
Okay,
respond within the
so
atemporal and
what's your
aspatial
opinion
space.
on whether it is impossible within the immaterial world?
I don't have to respond to that.
Wait, you have to because your position commits you to believing that it is possible for contradictions to exist in the immaterial world, since I've just explained to you why your worldview entails contradiction existing in the immaterial world. So you have to commit yourself to the view that a contradiction is possible, which is then going to require an argument. So I want the argument for that position.
Apollo, if I was actually arguing for a deduction, I would actually agree, but I'm not arguing for a deduction. I'm arguing like for a fucking induction, in which obviously I just have to present something that's inductively appealing.
Relies on
And
are
if
you
that's
fucking
the case,
stupid?
right? No,
Do you even
I'm done.
understand what
If that's the
Apollo is
Reasoning is a
case,
form
saying?
of deduction.
no, I'm not done,
Induction
right?
and
If that's the
deduction
case,
are
right?
all deductive reasons. They're just different forms.
What? What?
Induction relies on premises. Form of theoretical knowledge.
Okay,
Aristotle talks about this.
and so
So if it is a form of deduction, then how are you going to say that induction is not deduction a
I never
moment
said
ago?
it's a form of deduction.
Sorry, you literally just said that a while
I'm
ago.
presenting
You
an
literally just
inductive feat.
you're presenting
I'm
induction as
presenting an
deduction
induction,
part.
not a deduction.
So I just explained to why induction is deduction you're talking about. And wait a second, if you're
Why?
using
Okay,
deductive evidence, why should you
that's
even
fine. That's fine.
why should you
Why
even
is
accept
deduction
induction?
induction, Apollo?
Why
Why
should you
is
even accept
deduction induction,
induction? What's
Apollo?
the argument against problem of induction?
No. Why is deduction induction, Apollo? Why is deduction induction? I'm asking you. Why?
I explained to you because deduction involves premises lead to a conclusion. Induction is going to rely upon premises because it's an argument.
Something having similarities, it doesn't mean it's the same thing, Apollo. You mentioning similarities,
Okay, you're
it
an
does not
idiot. So
entail
it's
it's the
very
same
simple.
thing.
Deduction is very simple. The concept of deduction entails the act of premises leading to a conclusion. Induction involves premises leading to a conclusion. Therefore, induction is deduction. Very simple.
Deduction, right? In terms of deduction, right? Something that's
All
deductively
this fun is
valid
P plus
obviously
Q P there.
requires all
Very simple.
premises that are no, Apollo, I'm not done, I'm not done, right? If the conclusion, right, to be true, right, it requires all premises to be true. That's deduction, right? In induction, it does not, well, like the truth
You're
value,
retarded.
right, of the
Induction
conclusion
requires premises to
is
be
not
true. Just is not
necessarily
absolutely correct.
predicated, right?
You're already wrong.
What?
This is like basic
Bro,
propositional logic. I'm
I'm
sorry.
not even done
No,
speaking.
you can even
What?
read Charlie Smith's book on logic, or even Graham Priest's book on logic. This is like basic stuff. Or was it Graham Priest? Yeah, Graham Priest or Graham. Yeah. If you read these books on logic, talk about the fact that induction literally involves the acts of truth. The truth of the premises don't absolutely grant the truth of the conclusion, but that's not to say that the
Yeah.
premises doesn't need to be true. You understand that the whole goal of presenting an argument is to establish some level of soundness, right? So, if you present an inductive argument or inductive argument, like if I say, for example, there's a consistent trend of objects falling back to the ground due to the law of gravitational matter, that premise has to be true for me to establish from this premise that tomorrow gravity is going to still exist in the future, right? So induction still relies upon the truth of the premises. It's just in the sense of inductive reasoning, the truth of the premises don't absolutely matter the truth of the conclusion. All types of reasoning that's been postulated by an agent is going to require the truth of the premises, right? It does. I don't even know what you're talking about.
And in deduction, right, all of those premises being true guarantee that the conclusion is true. So therefore, they're not the same. So we agree. Are you done?
So I'm correcting you on that specifically.
You are not. I was already.
You just a while
not
ago
even
that
done
induction
talking.
does not require the premises to be true. I explained to you why arguments as a whole is going to require the premises to be true for it to even have an informative content. It's very simple, buddy.
Sure, I haven't even presented my inferences. What?
So concede that point. Okay, cool. So back to the actual relevant
Concede what
point.
point? Hold on, no.
So
Concede what point?
you
Concede
said a
what
while
point?
ago. Which point? Yeah, sure. The point with respect to you saying that induction does not require premises to be true for it to be an actual form of arguments, and I just explained to you why all arguments, based on the purpose of these arguments, are going to require the truthiness of the premises for the conclusion to have some weight
Apollo,
whatsoever.
I never said that. I was
You
not even
literally
done
said this a
talking.
while ago. But if you want to lie and say
you
you did
just
not,
cut
that's fine with
you just
me. I don't
cut
care
me
about
off.
it. That's an
I was
irrelevant
not
point
even
anyway.
done
So we can
talking.
move on. We can move on
Anyways,
anyway.
from what I hear, you're okay. I wasn't even done talking, right? But that's fine. But from what I hear, okay, we can clearly see that there's a distinction between induction and deduction. Are you done? Because that was supposed to be the point.
Deduction in itself is going to, okay, so when you're saying deduction, that's a vague way of putting it. So are you talking about deductive reason or deduction, which is just the act of deducing? Because if you're going to talk
In
about
reference to
deduction,
deductive
wait,
reason,
wait, hold on there a second,
in
hold on there a
reference
second.
to deductive
Wait, hold on
reason.
there a second, shut up. If we're going to talk about deduction in the sense of the act of deducing, that's going to be
I
inclusive of
said
all
deductive
types of
reason
reasoning.
in the sense of deductive reason. That's what I said.
So you'd have to specify. You did not specify at the beginning with just deduction. So induction is
Oh
obviously
yeah, that's my bad.
deduction
Yeah.
based on
That's my bad.
deductive
That's my bad.
reasoning.
Yeah, that's my bad. That's fine. That's my bad.
Let's
Alright.
go to the relevant points, right? So, I mean, I already explained to you how your view entails the commitment towards this logical contradiction being possible, right? So I want the argument for contradictions being possible. I even explained an argument as to why this is impossible, which is basically just a series of tautologies, right? Which reality is reality, and if reality is not reality, reality is just not reality. That's just tautological, and that just explains beyond a reasonable doubt as to why contradictions are impossible and why reality requires a set of rule which rules out contradictions for it to even exist, right? So with that being said, want you to present an argument which establishes why this logical contradiction does not exist, right? Or why your position is not contradictory. Since I've just explained to you why God created the material world or space-time world is going to entail that there was some level of change prior to the creation, which is going to entail, right, that the space-time relations existed before space-time dimensions existed, which is a contradiction, which explains several times. So you have to give an argument which denies this contradiction being an entailment of your position, or give an argument as to why this contradiction is possible in the sense of the intelligible abstract world. So, right, so it's either one or the other. If you can't present an argument for either of these choices, then you have to just drop your position as being an unjustified, unwarranted claim or position.
Oh, are you done then? Apollo, you're done, right? Apollo.
Yeah, I'm saying that, okay, dude, I'm saying that I'm finished.
No, I'm not.
Give
I'm
me a
not
response.
saying restate. I'm just saying, are you done? That's it.
Finished, bro. We just give a response. God damn it. Intense is
Okay,
not a
sure, that's
bad
fine.
day for toxic. I've already said several times that toxic is over. It is not that good. It's not a bad day. It's just his usual day. He's just not ready. But toxic, give a response.
Okay, that's fine. Right. If I present a set of inferences, right, which are finite, right, obviously you can question those inferences in which more inferences can be added, right, to which we fix like the validity of those inferences, right? And I'm saying in this case, right, I do not have to respond, right, to literally everything that you say, right? Because literally everything can be questioned in no, I'm not right. Everything can be questioned infinitely, right? And if that's the case, right, I do not have to respond to all possible subsets of the inference. If the inference seems inductively appealing, that's fine to me. Second of all, to the reality, the little tautology that you're talking about, right? That's fine, right? This contradiction, right, did not exist when like reality like was existing, right? That was like prior to reality existing, right? That's fine. It's not a contradiction like within the specific context of reality. It's just something that happened before reality existed. So therefore, if you say something, for example, right, reality to exist, it means that we must limit all possible contradiction, for example, right? That's fine. There's no contradiction within reality in this case. I'm just saying, right, this contradiction, that's logical contradiction that you're talking about, right, existed before reality was a thing. That's what I'm
Wait,
saying.
false. That's false. That's retarded. Wait. Wait, what? Wait a second. So you're saying that this contradiction existed hypothetically before reality existed. You understand that reality is just a category which speaks referential to what that exists, right? So when I'm talking about the fact that
No,
God
that's not
created,
how I define
hold on
reality.
there a
It's
second. Wait,
arbitrary just in
hold on there.
reference to the
Hold on there a
material
second. I'm just
world.
going to point out the issues real quick. So shut up. I did not
Yeah,
interrupt you not
I'm
even
just
once.
fixing that
Okay,
out.
I did not
You don't
interrupt you
have to
once a
state
while
that
ago.
if I just fixed it out.
Yeah. So
No,
basically,
I'm
reciprocate that same
clarifying
level of
for you,
respect.
Apollo.
Reciprocate this
Yeah, I'm
level of
clarifying
respect. I
for
did
you.
not
I'm
interrupt you
clarifying for
once.
you what I
So back to
define
what's
as
going to say,
reality.
toxic, right? You said that this contradiction would have existed before reality exists, which is false, by the way, because reality encompasses every single state of affairs which exist. So the state of affair, which I'm speaking referentially towards, which is a contradiction which I just established a while ago, would be a part of reality. And since I've explained to you how reality necessarily excludes contradictions being actual or true, right? You'd have to bite the bullet and grant that your position is warranted. Or you'd have to give an argument against why it is impossible for contradictions to be true, right? Which would be, in other words, an argument for dialetheism. So what is the argument for either of these positions or commitments?
I don't define reality as that which exists. I was just like simply making it synonymous with the material world.
Wait, but
As for the other
that's just
thing,
a false definition. Like, there's no philosopher who would agree. Wait, there's no philosopher which would grant that. Like, if you talk to like philosophers like Plato or Kant or any persons who adheres to like two world doctrine, reality is just going to be reality is just going to be inclusive of the two worlds, right? Reality is not confined to the material world. If anything, Plato or Heraclitus or even the ancient Greeks would say that the material world isn't reality because it's an imitation of the intelligible world. You can even go to the Neoplatonists. So it's a very bad definition, right?
Apollo, I do not give a fuck about your philosophers. That's why I
It's not about
synonymously.
my philosophers.
I
It's
think
about
reality is
philosophers
just
which
synonymous with
exist. What are you
material
talking
world.
about? You're just philosophically inept. You're uneducated on this shit. What are you talking about? You define reality as a material
I
world.
just said I
That's not a definition
defined
which is granted
reality
within the
to be
domain of
somewhat
philosophy.
synonymous with the material world. I don't
Not
give a
synonymous,
fuck what you
toxic.
think
There's
about your.
no professor
I
toxic.
don't give
There's
a
no
fuck about your
professor
philosophers,
nor
my nigga.
philosopher. Shut the fuck up, you fucking retard. Right? So anyway,
I don't give a
there's
fuck
no
about your
philosopher or
philosophers, my nigga.
professor who grants the definition that a reality is synonymous only to the material world. They're just an idiot, right? As you can send you several citations, and even the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy website, and every single professors who would reject that definition. Reality is never described as a material. It's only described as a set of things which exist, right? So if your position entails the existence of a being, right, which transcends the material world, where that being exists would have to be a part of reality and has to be reality. So I don't know what the fuck you're even talking about, right? That's just a horrible definition. That just points to the philosophical ignorance, unironically, dude. Holy fucking shit.
Well, I wasn't defining philosophically, but okay. So are you done?
Oh wait, if you're not
Because like
defining philosophically, then what are you defining it? What the fuck? We're having a philosophical debate. What are you
hey,
talking
bro,
about?
did you know what,
What other
Apollo?
definitions
Guess
could
what?
you put it? What are you
I guess
talking about?
Merriam-Webster agrees with me. Are you okay then?
Merriam-Webster? Wait. wait, hold on there. So you're appealing to Merriam-Webster in a discussion relating to philosophy. You understand that Webster's dictionary gives you a colloquial sense of what the word means, right? Which is different from a philosophical investigation of that particular word or thought content, right?
Just because you're engaging in a philosophical dialect, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to appeal to all like fucking
It's not a matter if you
definitions
have to. It's
that
a
are within
matter
the
if the
context of
definition you're
philosophy.
using will be inappropriate based on the context, based on the conversation context you're participating in. It would be inappropriate for you to apply this. That's what I'm basically applying here. I'm not saying that there's a rational law which forces you to use philosophical definitions. All I'm saying is that this definition is inappropriate based on the conversational context, based on what we're talking about. And to say that reality is only the material world is just dumb. It's really stupid considering the context, right?
Oh, okay. So are we done with this?
Yeah, I think it's very obvious that you can't present an actual reason as to why God exists based on the fact that it is a contradiction for him to create the space-time dimension, and he did not respond to that, and you literally agree that you don't
I
need to
have not
respond to that, which
presented
is
my
you not giving
inference
any
yet.
form of
I was not
responsive
saying the debate is done.
details
I was
towards it.
not saying the debate is done. I was not saying the debate is done. I have not presented my
I
inference.
never
I'm
said
talking
you're
about like
saying
the
that either. I'm
specific point.
saying that based on this point, there's no reason to
You're
continue this
saying I have
debate
no
because you're
argument. I have
not
not
even
presented an
discovering the
argument yet. What are you
current
talking
state of
about?
affairs.
What the fuck are you talking about, nigga? I haven't presented an argument
What do you
yet.
mean about what the fuck
I'm
I'm
about to
talking
do
about? I'm
that
not
right now.
speaking Greek, dude. I'm speaking English. Are you that fucking stupid? It's very simple. If you did
Because
not
you
rebut
sound
this point, which you
retarded,
did
my
not,
nigga.
by the
Even
way,
if you
and you
speak
granted that
English, it
you did
doesn't mean
not
that you.
respond,
It doesn't mean that you
there's no
fucking
way to
bro,
proceed to this
bro,
argument because
Apollo.
this argument is going to entail it being possible, and you've not presented any arguments for the possibility of this state of affairs. So I don't have any reason to engage with this because I'm just going to appeal to this prior point, which is this current point, and use that as a valid, I guess, way of negating, rejecting the current argument or whatever argument you're going to present afterwards.
So because there's no judge for this, right? And we cannot move forward apparently because you think it's a negation, right? Let's just move on under the presupposition that, for example, there's gonna be a judge who I guess fucking judges this fucking bullshit, right? So
I'm
can I
not
get into
moving
my
under any
introduction right now?
presupposition, dude. I've already explained to you why your God can't exist. You even said your God
Yeah,
is
and no,
inconceivable.
I already
So
explained rather than have
I
to
don't know how
answer
you can
that. So
conceive.
what?
I don't even know how
Are
you're
we
going to
just gonna
make any
keep saying
claim
the same
based on.
thing?
Wait, I don't even know how you're going to make a deduction based on mental process about
It's
something that's outside of your mental processes and inconceivable. I don't even know how that even makes any
shit. You're
sense.
about to
But
see. You haven't
anyway,
even seen me yet. So what are you talking about? You denying something yet you haven't seen, buddy? What the fuck?
that doesn't even respond to what I said a while ago. What are you talking about?
Apollo, if you think that we don't have to continue, I think that we have to continue. So how do we fix this problem?
Oh, which problem? There's no problem. There's no problem here. The issue is, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Apollo, you said, right, if, for example, I don't answer this question, right, that means I cannot move forward with my induction. I already addressed why I can move forward with my
Move forward. I'm
induction.
saying that
So
whatever
do we have
deductive
a
reason you're
problem
going to
here? We
present is
can't
just
move
going to be
on.
rejected based on the fact that you have not given any
It's not
valid
going to be
rebuttal
rejected. Fine.
towards
You're saying
the
it's going to be
skeptical
rejected. I'm saying
objection
it's not
that
going to be
launched
rejected. What are you
towards
talking
your
about?
position.
Are you done? I already explained this countless times. What are you talking about? So how
You
are you going to
asked me
move
a
forward?
question, which is, are you? You asked me if I'm basically implying that you can't progress this debate, and I said I'm not saying this. All I'm saying is that whatever progression you were to make in this debate, right, whatever arguments you were to be presented afterwards, would just simply be rejected on the basis that you've not given any valid or any form of rebuttal towards the skeptical objections I've launched prior, which hurts your position in an essential manner, right? So it's either one or the other.
It didn't hurt my position at all. I already explained this countless times. Like,
No, you
what
did
the
not
fuck?
explain this because I had to teach you several things regarding not only theory of modality and the fact that I'm not even basing the impossibility of this thing of conceivability, but also I had to explain to you why contradictions aren't necessarily impossible, right? And based on the fact that I've explained to you the metaphysical contradiction in a space-time dimension being created in a per accident sense, right? There's no way in fucking hell this being could have even exist to even actualize this contradiction. There's no way this material world would even be created unless you think it's being created, right? So I don't even care what you're going to say afterwards because guess
First of
what?
all,
It's already been
I don't think
invalidated
I
by what I
ever
said a while
miss.
ago.
I don't think I don't think I ever misinterpreted anything that you said. So I don't know who the fuck. Like, who are you teaching, my nigga? Like, please explain to me. Who are you teaching? What were you teaching?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I had to explain to you why exactly logical contradictions are impossible, and I had to explain to you the fact that I'm
I
not
already
saying the fact
agreed
that
within
your
the context of the
position is
material world. It's
impossible off
impossible.
its
So
sense of
what are you talking
conceivability.
about?
That's what I'm
What are
referring
you
to.
talking about? I already agreed that it's already
If you want to
impossible in
burst
the
a few
context of the
blood
material world, but I did
vessels,
not answer
if you
within
want
the
to burst
context
a
of the
few blood
material
vessels
world.
because I said I was teaching
I
you,
didn't
that's
answer
fine with
within
me.
the
I don't
context of
care.
the
You can get triggered
immaterial
over
world.
it. You can get
I
triggered over
didn't
it.
answer
You can
within the
get
context
pressed
of
over it.
the
I could care
immaterial
less.
world, and you never provided any justification for that as well.
The whole
So
point of the
what?
matter is your God could have not created the universe because it is a contradiction for there to be a change in the aspatial world. Right, to explain this to you. So it is logically contradictory for there to
I
be a
already
sense of
addressed this.
per accidence cause with respects to the
I
material
already
world being
addressed this.
created.
You
So
just
so
restating the
your
same shit,
position has
brother.
already been
You
invalidated.
just
That's why.
restating the same shit. You think it's
Because it
invalidated.
doesn't
It's
seem
not
as if
invalidated, buddy.
it doesn't seem as if your brain is doing a good job in assimilating the information that's been presented this far. So I have to reset like 8 times.
It's maybe because you have to restate multiple times because you're not actually addressing what I'm saying, you fucking retard.
No, it's not that. And I'm pretty sure anyone who's actually paying attention and who understands what I'm talking about would agree with what I'm saying.
Anyways, I think I'm gonna present my induction. So if you think that it's negated, I guess this is gonna be judged. Is that fine with you?
How is inductive arguments even appropriate in the theology debate like this?
You think they're inappropriate? Apollo, do you think they're inappropriate?
I just left, but I'm saying that how is it even appropriate, right? Because if you're saying that if you're using inductive reason, then you're acknowledging the possibility of these being non-existent, right?
Sure, I mean, you can acknowledge that possibility doesn't make it a probability, so it really doesn't matter to me, to be honest.
Wait. I'm not even arguing for a probability. So if it is logically possible for
I
there being
am, buddy. Stop taking my shit out of context, you fucking retard.
hold on, you gibberish dude.
This
So
nigga,
anyway,
bro.
right? If it is logically possible for this being to not exist, then you understand that this being's existence is conditioned upon certain state of affairs which allows for its existence, right? So it can't be omnipotent.
Please just say what you said.
You said a while you acknowledge that it is
Rude.
possible that this being does not exist, but you're arguing for some probability-based conclusion. I'm saying to you that if it is possible that this being does not exist, right, then that means in any possible world in which this being exists, right, this being is conditioned upon certain state of affairs which allows for its existence. So it is necessarily not omnipotent. It will be a contingent entity because it is not necessarily existent.
Okay, can you please restate? Because I did not understand you this
Okay,
time.
okay, it's
Actually,
very.
my bad.
I'll just clarify like this. You acknowledge that it is
Yes, yes, yes.
possible that
My
this being
bad.
does not exist. Now that means that this being is contingent. So that means this being can't be omnipotent.
No, I don't think saying that it's like possible. Like he doesn't
Wait,
exist.
wait. Do you
Like entails
understand
that.
what modal contingencies, right?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yes, if it is possible that this being does not exist, then this being is a contingent being. Like you can read several books on modal logic and so on. Van den Wegen talks about contingent beings and so on. It's very simple. A contingent being is just a being which exists in some possible worlds. If you're saying that this being does not exist in all possible worlds, then this being would obviously be a contingent being. So how does a contingent being qualify for being a particular entity which is necessary or being an entity which is omnipotent?
The reason why I appeal to, like, for example, probability, I feel like I already explained that I don't think I can actually use a deductively valid argument to prove God exists because we already went over him having divine ineffability, for example, right? So I cannot argue for certainty that God exists because we cannot have all possible knowledge of God's existence,
Wait,
right?
but you not
So that
understand what I'm
no,
saying.
I'm not, bro.
God
I'm
is
not, bro.
generally defined as
I
an
heard, I
omnipotent
heard what you
being.
said, Apollo.
I
I
know
heard
you
what
heard
you
what I
said,
said, but
right?
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. God is generally
That's,
defined as an
bro.
omnipotent
I'm
being.
not
So,
even
so
done.
wait
I'm not even
wait
done
a second, because
responding.
I'm repeating this not only because of you, but I want everyone else to understand. God is generally defined as
Okay,
a
fine, sure.
contingent
Repeat for
being,
them.
right? As an omnipotent being. Now, if you acknowledge that it is possible that God does not exist, right? Then that means God is contingent. And if God is contingent, then that means his existence is restricted in some sense because his existence does not apply to all possible worlds, the domain of all possible worlds. So, if his existence in itself is restricted, then his power, which necessarily revolves around his existence, would also be restricted. So, how would he be omnipotent?
So can I explain now? I guess not cut me off this time,
Explain it to me.
since you're saying you're yeah, sure, that's fine, right? The reason why I'm appealing to probability once again, right? I already said I cannot use a deductively valid argument to prove God exists because I cannot be certain that God exists because I cannot have
Then that means there's
knowledge
no
of
argument
God's
for this
existence.
omnipotent being existent. That's the point.
What? I'm not even done talking, bro. Can I finish? No, he left again. Shit, my battery's about to die.
Yeah.
Toxic.
Anyway, what are you saying? I was talking to my mom for a second.
Um,
Please reiterate.
Yeah, can I finish now?
I want you to reiterate. So obviously, I'm going to want you to finish. I was talking to my mom.
Yeah, I am. Right. I'm saying the reason why I'm appealing to probability is because I cannot prove deductively, like using a deductive valid argument that God exists, for example, right? Because I cannot be certain that God exists because that will be saying that I can conceive of God existing, right? And I'm saying God is inconceivable, so that would be like an indirect like contradiction to
Wait.
my
That's false.
stance, right?
That's
No,
literally false.
I'm not done, right? So if that's the case, right, the only thing that I can possibly do, right, is present an inductively valid argument somewhat, right? And after that, right, I present some sort of like logical consistency, right, from other descriptions of God, right, which are also consistent with like apoplectic theology, for example, right? And I conclude upon that like in terms of probability wise, right, God exists. That's it.
Wait. I'm saying that probabilistic inference does not suffice to prove in the being you claim to exist. If this being is omnipotent, then that means this being is not restricted in any sense. It does not have any restrictions, and it is capable of doing all things. Now, if we conclude that this being is contingent, then that means this being is restricted in some sense. Therefore, this being is not omnipotent.
Okay, fine, that's fine, right? I'm saying, right? Okay, I'm saying, right? It's probable that God exists, right? If you think it's possible that God doesn't exist, that's fine, right? I don't think that's the case, right? The only reason why I'm actually appealing to an inductively
My
valid argument
God,
is because
he's
I cannot use
retarded.
inductively valid
He's lost in
argument.
the sauce. Okay,
dude, toxic, bro. Oh my.
I'm gonna have to re-explain once more. I'm gonna do it very slowly. Please do not interrupt me, right? And just listen very closely, right? If God is omnipotent, right? He's unrestricted. He's capable of doing all things. He's capable of doing every single logically possible state of affairs. He has no restrictions. Now, if you acknowledge that it is possible that God does not exist, then that means he is a contingent being. In some possible worlds, he does not exist. If this is the case that in some possible worlds he does not exist, then his existence is restricted in some sense, because his existence is not the case or is not applicable throughout the entire domain of the possible worlds which are established. Now, if his existence are being restricted, and for him to even have power, he has to have some level of existence, then that means power would also be restricted because his power is not something which would be applicable through the domain of all possible worlds. So the acceptance of this being contingent denies or rejects this being omnipotent to begin with, because there's obviously going to be some level of metaphysical restrictions. So by default, the probabilistic inference they're about to present would not suffice to prove in that this being even exists. It wouldn't even prove this being exists at all. If anything, even this being existed. So that's the argument. So either you'd have to bite the bullet and say, hey, Apollo, you know what? I'm not going to use a probabilistic inference. That's dumb of me, Apollo. I'm going to use an actual deductive argument. Or you just concede the debate because you're currently fucked over. Not to mention the initially the contradiction in God creating a space-time dimension. So you're fucked in two ways, buddy.
I already addressed the first one, but it's fine, right? I'm saying, right, for me to appeal to that.
Yeah, you definitely did, bro.
Oh, okay. Right. Are you done? Right. I'm saying for me to appeal, right, to a probabilistic logic in this case, right, is because if I say, right, if I use deductively valid arguments to say God exists, right, obviously that'll be intending that I have knowledge that certainly that God exists, right? To say that, for example, in that case, right, it'll be saying that I can conceive of God's existence, right? And if that's the case, right, that'll directly contradict, right, my stance for God being inconceivable, right? So the only thing that I can do, which in fact proves consistency for God's apoplectic nature, is to use inductively valid arguments. So
I
I'm
actually
not
went away
saying
for a moment,
I'm not
so you're gonna
saying
have
like
to
if
repeat
I'm not
everything.
saying
You're
if
gonna
I
have to
argue
repeat
for
every single thing you
probability, right?
said. You're
I'm not
going to
saying
have
if I
to repeat
argue for
everything,
probability, right,
dude. You're
it's
gonna
in
have to repeat
reference
every
like
single thing you
God not
said.
existing.
You're going
What?
to have to repeat every single thing you said. I just left. Stop rambling.
Oh
Repeat what you said.
Lord. Okay, that's fine, right? I'm saying me appealing to an inductively valid argument is because if I appeal to a deductively valid argument to say that God exists and it's certain that God exists, because if I make an like deductively valid argument, right, obviously it'll be me saying that God certainly does exist, right? And if that's the case, right, it'll directly contradict my stance, right, which states that God is inconceivable because I can conceive of the fact that he exists, right? So I can conceive of
Wait.
some
That
fact
doesn't
of
even make
thought,
any
right?
sense.
No.
You
What?
can have wait. You can generate deductive arguments for beings which are inconceivable. Take into consideration bombs implicate order. Making a sense. For example, the Neoplatonists, for example, Plotinus and people who are Neoplatonists, uses the principle of simplicity to deduce a divinely simple being, which is ineffable or inconceivable in some sense, right? But that doesn't
Okay, that's fine, right?
legitimize
Can
that
you?
this being
Okay,
has to
no.
exist nonetheless.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine, right? Can you present me an example of that being the case?
I just given an example. I gave you the example, and you asked me to give an
It's
example. That
it's
doesn't make
it's
any sense. What
it's
are you
it's
doing?
more like okay, that's fine. Apollo, right? I'm saying like it's more like a reference, and I am like I'm not gonna lie, right? I have not looked into
Talking
Neoplatonism,
about.
right? So I'm asking you to elaborate more in that case, like,
But a reference is an example.
bro, I'm saying I don't understand, so I cannot actually refute. So I'm asking you to actually clarify more.
Dude. So we cannot actually imagine and conceive in that like experience a being which is totally unrestricted. We can't even imagine an actual infinite set, right? But nonetheless, it does not mean that actual infinity is impossible. Mathematics verifies actual infinity is existent. Now, with that being said, the same applies to this case. I'm saying that regardless of whether you can conceive of this entity or not, it does not establish that this being can't be necessarily deduced as an actual necessarily existent being. For example, take into consideration how Plotinus deduces the one, right, through a process of emanation. The one has to exist for the many to exist. If the one does not exist, then there's a problem of the one to the many. So that's an example, right? And there are multiple examples of you being capable of deducing a being which is basically inconceivable. I don't see how conceivability affects
When I ask you
or
to give an
capacity
example,
to
I'm
generate
asking you to
deductive
provide me
arguments
an
about the being
actual
that doesn't
inference where
conceivability
that's
has no
actually the
effect
case. I'm
on.
not asking you to provide me with
You asked me
references
for an
for
example and you're not
Neoplatonism
even allowing me to finish. You're not even allowing me to finish. I was just
because
gonna
you're not
finish by
addressing what I
I was just
said.
gonna close
The
it off by
example that I
saying
asked for was
I was
for
just
you
gonna
to
close
provide
it
an
off by
actual
saying shut up. I
inference
was
to
gonna
that being
close
the
it off by
case.
saying that our ability to conceive of something does not affect the actual fact of the matter. I don't see how a inability to conceive of a being affects this being a necessary fact of the matter or a necessary fact or being, right?
For you
So
to
I don't
say
even
that
see how
is
that
for
argument
you to
even
say that you
follows
can
to
actually make
begin
a
with.
deductively valid argument for that, like being right, who's inconceivable, right, certainly exists. So I'm asking you to provide me an example of such. Provide the
I just
inference
given
right
you the
now.
example a while ago,
No,
dude.
provide the inference
Twice.
right now. I'm not asking for an example that actually just fucking references this. I'm asking you that to provide me an inference where that's
Wait, so
actually the
what
case.
type of example do you want then? If you don't want an
I
example which
just said
references the point
inference,
you're
you
asking
fucking
for,
retard. You
then
know
you
what an
want an
inference
irrelevant
is?
example? Are you fucking stupid, dude? What are you doing, bro?
I
What
didn't
are you
ask for
doing?
reference. That's what I said, buddy. I'm asking you to provide me an
Wait,
inference where
reference
that's
and
actually the
example
case.
are the same in this context. If you're asking me for an example, then obviously I'm going to reference
It's
some
not the
source
same in
or
this it's
citation,
not
dude.
the
What are
same
you
in this
talking
context. I
about?
already like fucking specified, right? Fucking retard.
How am I being a
Provide me an
retard when
inference
you're
as
the
that's
one
the
who
case.
literally is denying that these references
Provide
are
me an inference
exemplifying
where
the thing
that's
you're asking
actually the
for?
case, buddy.
You sound stupid, dude. What's going on, bro?
Provide me with an inference.
Wait. Have you slept, bro? Like have you actually slept recently? Because it doesn't seem as if your brain has been like, like you
Blood.
seem very tired, bro. Like I don't know, bro.
Just
The,
saying
the
that
Wait,
amount of
doesn't
gibberish you've
Apollo,
been
can
spitting
I
thus
take
far,
over when you're
I'm
done debating?
convinced that you have not. Wait, what are you gonna say, Archie?
Let me take over when you're done with your debate.
Who lost? I've already explained to you how we lost. You can end the recording. Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
that's fine.
This is
So,
horrible.
so
Holy shit.
Hold on,
This is the guy they were hyping up,
hold on.
Archie. Archie, you know that they were hyping talks and say that this is an S tier debater. Like this dude's fucking horrible. Holy
yeah.
shit.
I'm just curious about a few things. So, wait, let me make sure this kid. Someone get Nemesis back here. He tried to run before I could fully explain it to him. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone ping that nigga. Get that nigga back here.